So I got a question regarding how to, excuse me, better connect and work alongside Nyx, because I remember the first video I did for Nyx, which is actually very popular, that I didn't really finish it up as intended. So I figured I would help out in regards to that and kind of get some more clarity on good old lovely Night Mother. And this depiction of her is from the Dark Goddess Oracle deck. I did a review for that. If you want to take a look at the deck, take a look and you won't be disappointed. But going back to what I taught about in that video, and I suggest you watch that first, but I'm going to do a quick rundown about it. Nyx is the primordial goddess, and a primordial deity is a deity that is pretty much one of the first beings to come into existence, if that makes sense. In other words, Gaia's primordial, her brother Iberos, I can't pronounce it right, but her brother, which is young, yeah, it's kind of a weird, to me it's a little weird how it's laid out, but either way, her brother is primordial. Uranus, the god of the sky, is primordial. Tartarus is primordial, even though Tartarus is seen as a dwelling, but is also known as a primordial entity. But Nyx is the oldest of them all. And Nyx is the primordial goddess of the night, the dark, space, and the void. And because of her, all that is in the solar system, the stars and everything, because of her, she's holding it all together. Because at the core of it, the dark and what is you can't see, all of that is always there somewhere. Like you see how much more darker it is behind me? That's an indication. But even like where there's no light, you can't see, that's a symbol of Nyx, if that makes sense. So I'm going to read a little bit from the actual guidebook for that oracle deck, so that way you can kind of get like a general idea of like what she represents and what she can help teach you with. Let me just find the page of her real quick. Okay, there we go. And here's like a short little poem thing I'm going to read. Shadowed figures cross the night, secrets shared, no need for fright. Within her arms now rest and heal, those to trust she will reveal. And then the last line is pretty much the same thing throughout the book. I'm not going to spoil that one, but her word is respite. Now, Nyx is a entity that is a mother goddess and primordial. So in a way, she is essentially the oldest aspect of the mother. The oldest. So you can technically say she's also somewhat crone, in a sense. But what Nyx represents as well is a being in a place of bliss, silence, just stillness. She doesn't do favoritism. She doesn't favor anyone higher or lower. And even though actually Smite, I'm talking about the game, the way they actually depict her, but they call her Nox, that's the Roman equivalent, they actually depict her in a way that actually kind of fits her way of thinking, if that makes sense. Because in her character model, she has like a veil and you can't see her eyes. In a way, that shows that she's in a way blind, meaning that she sees everyone the same. She doesn't put any of her children or anyone higher or lower. She sees everyone the same. Which, if you're going to be a mother, you kind of have to do that with your children. You can't put anyone higher or lower. You gotta love them all equally. And most of the insights that I've gotten from her are like a good one being you have to see without your eyes. Even though most of the time when people would think, see without my eyes, how the heck am I going to do that? Well, intuition, sixth sense, the senses that are beyond the physical five senses. That's what she meant. And also that anywhere where it's dark, why be afraid of the dark or the void when it has everything you want in there? And whatever you say comes out of it. So why be afraid of something that gives you what you want? See? She's also very mysterious. Like she makes you kind of get dumbfounded, like, well, what the heck does that mean? She makes you think, and she wants you to think outside the box. And actually be a little creative with how you perceive what she says to you. And it, as revealed, it says she is the archetype of a confider. And a confider is something that is kind of finding safety, but also at the same time confiding and keeping something to yourself. And Nyx is that way too. She is to herself. She does what she needs to do. When she goes across the sky and brings the night sky, she does her thing. And then she just does what she has to do. If she has anything or intending anything, she doesn't go off saying, I think I'm going to stop riding my chariot. No, she doesn't. She doesn't tell everything. But she keeps all like the secrets and the things that people don't usually find out if they're not really using their mind. She doesn't tell everything point blank. She gives pieces of it and then she goes on her merry way. She is a figure of such exceptional power and beauty that she is feared by Zeus himself. Yes, because as well, Nyx is also the father of death, Thanatos, and also Hypnos. And the time that Zeus decided to chase after Hypnos, Nyx just told him, oh, no. How about you just go back now? Okay. Yeah. Mother of all the creatures of the night, which includes owls, wolves, werewolves, vampires, if you want to go to the technical cheesy romance things, lycans, werewolves, and anything that is nocturnal. Anything is represented by Nyx. All can go to her and find comfort, respite, and bear their souls in confidence. Because again, like what I said, she's blind. All that she sees is, oh, it's a child of mine. Doesn't favor anybody. So, that's a good general rundown. When working with her, the best way to start is just getting completely comfortable in a dark place, in a dark setting. Because if you don't get comfortable and you're trying to work with her, she is the kind of entity that will not understand why you're afraid of me. I'm like your mother, why you're afraid? I'm gonna have to teach you a lesson why you shouldn't fear your mother, and she will mess with you. I know she still does it to me too. She will mess with you. But not in a way to like be baneful and malefic, to be all like, look, remember what I said about the void and whatever you want comes out of it? Here, let me just prove it to you. See, I'm trying to think of another. No. But really, she can, if you're not used to her at first, she can make you feel very uncomfortable if you're not used to her and her energy. But once you get to it, it's just like, okay, I'm not afraid, because again, once you understand that, okay, whatever this dark space is or whatever's in there, Okay, well, I just know whatever I want's going to come out of it, so why am I afraid of it? And once you get to that state of thinking, Nyx becomes actually, funny enough, she becomes one of the best goddesses to work with and in terms of protecting you. Because when you have something baneful, malefic, or something trying to harm you, you're not really going to, want to mess with, the first divine known to exist. Because, say for an example, if there's like a, trying to think of something that, say like a very, 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 very terrifying fiend like the Mashtu, which is a Mesopotamian fiend, I believe Mesopotamian, but either way, that fiend is extremely destructive and completely gets satisfied by things being destroyed, obliterated, and the whatnot. And say if you're really close with Nyx and that fiend comes towards you, not much that fiend's going to do against Nyx, because Nyx is just going to go, haven't you learned anything for the amount of times you've existed? You're how old now? Come on, child. Let's go in timeout. No, come on. That's just how much power she has, if that makes sense. Because you really can't stand against an entity that is like a extremely great grandmother figure. And yeah, she's not, even though she can't see, she's not new here, if that makes sense. She knows. She's like, I know what's going on here. But another goof thing you can do, you can also dedicate a stone to her, such as amethyst, lapis. Not really much the black tourmaline, but you can use that. You can also use a smoky or shadow quartz. You can use a tektite. You can use, I'm trying to think of another black stone. Lemurian jade, that's another one, especially Lemurian jade midnight. Labradorite's another one. Moonstone's another one, and she's also, if there's a planetary thing you want to associate her with, Moon is another, which is, but pretty much Moon is the only one that resonates with Nyx well, other than the whole thing as a whole, because she's holding it all together. What I'm going to move next is actually other ways that you can kind of see, like say for example, if you're doing divination, how you can use like tarot decks, and this one I'll get into in a second, but because with this deck, this one's like the closest I've got to a Rider-Waite-Smith, the very closest I've got. And when you're doing like any kind of reading for yourself, or if you're using the tarot, and say for an example you want to communicate with Nyx, I'm going to point out with some of these examples of possibly like, hey, she's involved in the situation, or she's present somehow, like if she's listening or is there helping, or whatever you deem fit. That just depends on what you're looking at. Well, the first one may be like, hangman. The idea is you have a figure who is stuck, but the whole thing is because since he is in a different position than how he's supposed to be, like this, well, not really like that, but since he's upside down, he's able to see in a different perspective than if he was standing. Yeah, if he was upright, standing on the ground, okay, well, nothing too fancy, but since he's being put upside down and stuck, he's enlightened and he can see around him, if that makes sense. And it's, again, that is a good example of seeing without your eyes. You're looking at a different perspective, and that's one of her big lessons that she teaches. Well, obviously, death, because death, if you're afraid of it, usually that's when things can get sour. But at the end of the day, you see how there's the blue in the background, the night, and how there's a little sun coming up from the bottom. that sun is rising and then the night's ending, so something new is coming and a new dawn is born, which is one of her children. Here's a good one. Eight of Swords. Probably thinking, well, that's restrictive, but how is that related to her? Well, again, in the depiction, you have to see without your eyes. You see the woman with a blindfold? She has to see without her eyes. She has to trust her intuition. Even though she can't see what's going on and not going to know what in the heck's coming at her, she has to just feel, despite being tied up. And also, there's also a raven or a crow at the very top, as an example, because not all decks have this depiction. It's just a general idea, because one deck can have a moon in it, and then there's another part of a different deck and the same card doesn't have a moon in it, so it can get a little bit, This one has a good majority of them. Again, with a blindfold, seeing without the eyes. But now you see the crescent moon. That's a potential of Nyx speaking, because again, the night, the moon, mother, and then the birds, which are black, can also represent possibly, again, a very good potential that Nyx is trying to interact with you and make you stop your physical movement and go back within. Now, well, with this one, it's not as obvious, but it can be. The Queen of Swords, or the Queen of Sass. Because usually when it comes to being a mother figure, sometimes you just gotta be like, like how she was towards Zeus, like, you're gonna stop chasing my kid around the world, and it's gonna stop. Now. Okay. Go. Yeah. Now this one may not be as obvious. Justice. Because usually in the Justice card, there is well, at least in this depiction, there is an owl figure. Nyx, one of Nyx's animals, again, being nocturnal, is the owl. Another one. Seven of Cups. How is that related to Nyx? Well, you have a black figure in the middle. And also, since this individual is using his ability to see without his eyes, he's seeing the infinite possibility that can come out of it. Intuition. And using imagination. That is how, really, you're seeing without your eyes. You're seeing the potential. Seven of Swords. In this regard, when the Seven of Swords pops up, you're carrying out something or doing an action or having something be done that is in secret or not being aware of, or something that people or outside of you is not aware of. And that is Nyx too, but in more of a baneful, negative kind of a way, because again, Nyx is also very supportive of people who thieve, rob, steal, with good intention behind it, if that makes sense. She helps people be unseen and undetected. Here's a good one. The Hermit. But he's using a light thing, yeah, but he's going within. He's looking within himself, reflecting, and then coming back down and bringing the light with him. Next one's the Moon. Now the moon, again, the moon is pretty much the Divine Mother in a sense, but also, again, there's that dark behind the moon. That's Nyx. And it's, again, holding the moon up and everything else in the cosmos up. But as well, generally the Mother archetype is water, and the moon controls water. High Priestess. This depiction is probably not the best choice of it, but the High Priestess is a figure that doesn't speak that much. She knows what's up, and she is very calm. She doesn't She doesn't like table flip when you accidentally, I'm not sure, like misplace one of her books. She doesn't go like, I'm gonna stab you. She's just, hey, that book? It's not in a spot. Would you please fix that? Yeah, she's not that kind of a figure to go and start backhanding people. But Nyx can inflict, she has potential to, make people just go to sleep and not wake up. Eight of Cups is another one. The top left, well, here. There's the crescent moon. Now there's also a cloaked shadow figure going up the mountain, which can be, yes, it can be dread and depression and sadness, but at the same time, since the figure is coated in black in the dark, is showing that Nyx is comforting on his way going back to something better or moving onward. This one is very subtle. A Nine of Pentacles. Usually, most of the time, there's a bird. And I can't remember which deck it was that I first saw the Nine of Pentacles card. That's making me use it as an example, but either way. Then the bird usually sometimes is an owl. And again with the owl, one of her creatures of the night. Now, Five of Cups. The same clove figure from the 8. Same figure. Something went a whoopsie whoop, and Nyx is comforting, despite the sadness. Queen of Cups. You're thinking, how? What? How in the heck? Easy. The Queen of Cups is the water element into water element, thus makes the pretty much a divine mother figure in a way. And Nyx, again, loves all of her children and all beings equally, and in order to do that, you have to be able to love unconditionally, no matter what. Even if, one of your great-grandchildren is chasing your own son around the world and you're just fed up. Nine of Swords. Now, this is where it can get a little bit dark and scary. When your mind is overthinking and you're having too much going on in there, is running too much, there's unnecessary fear. And going back to the void, holding everything you want, that's a good way to counter it. If you're in the dark and you don't know what's going to happen, just be at ease, don't overthink, because you won't be able to sleep, and that's not good. But at the end of the day, you would just think, this place just has what I want. I'm not afraid of it, so I'm going to keep going towards. You'll get over that, no problem. And then we have the drastic Ten of Swords. Something that kicks the bucket harshly, and then the sun comes from behind. So something lays to rest. Nyx, again, at the very top of the card, is pretty much did all she could and comforted the best she could, so now something new can come beyond that. And for another deck that I would suggest, if you actually want to use it to interact with Nyx better, you can definitely use this deck called, put the lid back on it. It is Tarot de la Nuit, which is Tarot of the Night, funny enough. And I'm going to just go through the cards real quick. Like, this deck is primarily more of a kind of a dark fantasy, romantic, woman themed deck. And I mean, heck, I love this deck. It's a more of a divine feminine feel to it, but it's also very mysterious, which corresponds with Nyx very well. And even, heck, it even has Alice in Wonderland imagery in there. There's the moon. Here's a reference to the Black Swan. Eight of Swords right there. Because there's just so many, and here's my favorite card, by the way. There's the Queen of Cups. There's the Ten of Swords. Something tragically ending because it's going to drown itself. Now here, you see, here's an example of it. Of one card not having anything to do with it, but then you see the moon at the top right, that can be a sign of Nyx coming through. Here's another one. There's the Emperor. The Divine Masculine card. Yep, the Emperor. There's the moon at the top right. Let's see. What else we got? The Four of Pentacles. You see the moon at the out the window, and actually the figure looks like how Nyx would dress in a way, and she's kind of in the back, so you can't really see her that well. There's the High Priestess again. Okay. Nine of Cups can be considered one too, because when you're actually looking at her, there's also right in her hair there's a little owl ornament that's sitting there. The Chariot, there's a moon in the background, and oh boy, is it right behind her head. The Seven of Swords, there's a moon at the very top right there, but also at the same time this Seven of Swords is different than the norm, because this Seven of Swords has the character in focus going, I quit. That's what showing there. That one, really. Okay, I don't know what that was. If you heard that, I'm sorry. Then we have the unique card, Angel de la Nuit, which is a card about suffering about to end soon. And yep, because since it's an angel of the night, it fits. The world has the moon and the owl, so that counts as an example. Okay, no. Pretty much that was a good general idea of it, but let's see, what else can I think of? When you're wanting to actually like call out to Nyx, again, pretty much any day is a good day too. It's just make sure that when you interact with her, or call out, just flow and be at ease. Like have it be dark and just let yourself flow in it. Don't be all like, it's dark and it's scary in here, I don't want to get jumped by something. And in fact, if you have to, a good idea is to take, I don't even have a piece of cloth or something, but when you're wanting to, just put it over your eyes and then just do your exercise from there, and then just let your imagination go. Because that way, you can still be in a lit room and you don't got to worry about like, oh, I hope nothing bad is gonna happen, but it won't. But see, pretty much once you get that comfort, Nyx is pretty much always very supportive and also very protective, and she's also really good to help you if you're gonna decide to do scrying and the whatnot. And scrying is when you take something as simple as this, something that has like a dark surface that you can gaze into, or even like a crystal ball. You just gaze into it and you can just let the images go through. And yes, this was actually Lilith's necklace thing, but because since someone can't keep his hands to himself, he broke it, so I had to fix it. But either way, pretty much other than that, once you get over like the fear aspect and you're really comfortable in the dark and the shadows, she's actually very, very simple. All that she wants is just for you to be at your best and just not ever think that you can't not do something. She's very good at supporting you, and really that's all that she wants. But she's very simple. Like hell is very simple. You do what you need to do, and if you're happy, she's happy, and she's perfectly fine with it. If something hits the fan and you need someone to protect you, that is the entity you want to work with. So I hope this gave you the clarity you needed for looking forward with her. And if anybody else who watches this has an entity that I've talked about and want more clarity, then just let me know. So that was for Nyx and the goddess of the night, the shadow, the dark, and that is unseen.